Welcome to the Molly and Not Here Captain show. So instead, it's going to be the Molly and Marley show. You guys,
Hello.
this is Marley.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Marley has been a longtime friend of mine. We were talking about earlier for 20 years. We're going to smoke to that because now I'm officially fucking old. Dude, I remember when you were like really little, following us around and fucking Mark and I.
I was so afraid of you. You were like the one friend of my sister's who would hold me accountable. Do you remember the last time I saw you?
It wasn't the last time I saw you, but it was just one that you remember. Because we always talked. I seen you like a couple times after it, but it was one time I caught her ass.
I don't even know whose house that was.
No, it wasn't a house. I caught your ass at Denny's.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh shit! No. I remember one time I caught your ass at Denny's, and I was like, "You were really young, and you were sitting on some guy's lap," and I was like,
no.
"Who the fuck?" And you're like, "It's my boyfriend," but I wasn't ready for her to have a boyfriend. Like I had noticed that she was so small, so I'm like, "Who the fuck? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, she's older now," and she's like,
Grown up.
"Whatever."
But you don't remember when on 13th Street, down at the end of the street, I don't know whose house it was. I just showed up, and you were there, and you're like, "Go home." You're like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Go home."
Oh, because it was my party.
And I went home.
It was on
Because
12th Street, right by
Yep.
the high school.
12th
Yeah,
Street.
it was my party, and she had no business at my party because there was nobody there for your little motherfucking ass at
And
my
then
party.
some white boy followed me home and tried to kiss me.
See, there you go.
But I went home.
That's why
listened.
she was supposed to be at the damn party.
Yep.
Fast ass little boys. So that's how long I've known her.
Yeah.
But now she's grown as fuck, and she could pop that pussy forever she like. I'm just playing.
I mean, I can. So.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm excited to have a girl for this conversation because although I love my captain, he can't have certain conversations with me because he's a guy and he looks at everything from a guy's point of view. And as you guys seen before, I be wanting to really like snatch his ass, but whatever. So I'm glad you're here, and I love her point of view on things, you guys. She is super awesome. I'm gonna. What is it called? I'm gonna gay on you right now. Gay love on her right now. Because I admire your ability. I've told you before. Your ability to be very comfortable with yourself and express yourself in a way to let everybody know that you love yourself, hair, anywhere and all, like we were talking about. And also just being able to say, hey, this is how I am as Marley, and this is how I am as a mother, and this is how I just, all that comes together and makes me, and you break that off a whole lot, and I admire that about you.
You know what? Honestly, growing up, you were a really good example of that for me. You always speak your mind, no matter what's on your mind.
I just flushed right now.
No, and that was really encouraging to me because when I was younger, I wasn't quiet, but I wasn't, I didn't ever always feel like
I never
I could just say what I need to
understood
say.
why you just talk, like, you just was so rowdy, and she was like this big.
I
dude,
was. But still, just having that example, somebody older than me who speaks their mind, no matter what, you were talking about.
I think, honestly, that comes from, as we talked about this, we're both Capricorns, and Capricorns, we tend to do that a lot. Always have to say, what is it we're feeling or thinking or whatever, and expressing ourselves so that people can understand why we're acting the way we're acting, more or less.
And do you get good, positive feedback to that? Because sometimes I
it's a mixture. I get a lot of people who'll tell me, like, okay, I love this. I love that you are so open. Like, you're telling me, like, you admire. Like, they'll tell me, like, oh, I love that you're so open and blah, blah, blah. Until I get real with them. You know what I'm saying? Until I say some shit to them to this, like, oh, well, you're this and that. It's like, nah, like, a minute ago I was real. But I never say anything to nobody to be ignorant or just be an asshole. It's just like, if I tell you something about yourself, it means I care about you. It means there's something about you that I see different for you, and I want to tell you because I want better for you.
Right.
People don't take it like that all the time. They take it as if, oh, you're a bitch. I'm like, well, all right.
When you're really coming from a place of love and but what happens with you when somebody tells you something about you? Because for me, I'm super sensitive, and because I'm so sure of myself, I just don't accept.
Oh my God, I'm so glad Ramon's not here for this because Ramon calls me a big softie.
Oh.
He says, you know what? You're such a fucking bitch. But deep down inside, like, you can't take it. Because I do get a little bit on edge when people... It depends on who's telling me. You know what I'm saying? and how they're telling me, you have to watch how the fuck you talk to me. That's my biggest problem. Like, you could tell me some shit, but you gotta watch how the fuck you say it, because if you say it in a certain way that I take offensive, I am gonna pounce, because that's the type of person I am, and I can't change that. Like, I've worked on it a whole lot, don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's really hard when people, you know what I'm saying, they'll judge you for something, and so it's like, if they're telling you in a way of like, oh, well, you know, like, I've gotten a lot, I used to drink a lot, like a lot, and party a lot, and I would hear them like, oh, like, you know, I thought you were still doing that partying thing, like, bitch, what you mean that party doing the same shit that you were doing, like, when I was doing it, and like, you know what I'm saying, like, I started to get really offensive, like, how I feel about it. You don't know what the fuck I was going through at that time, and yeah, I was doing what the fuck I was doing, but I could afford to do what the fuck I was doing. So, that you see my attitude change, because now I feel attacked.
It's all about the approach, absolutely. It's about the approach, and the setting, too.
Oh, yes.
So...
it's always on that part, too.
When it's backhanded, like, I thought you were still doing the same, like, that's, yeah. I mean, that warrants a sensitive response. Yes. For sure.
But anyways, so yeah, I got deep on that. I love conversations with her. Another thing we have been talking about was, as a lot of people know, if you follow me or if you're close to me, I don't want kids. I've been very adamant about that for a long ass time. I want to say since I was probably like 15 or 16, I was like, I did not want to fucking kids. And you know, me being young, everyone always said like, oh no, you're gonna want it, blah blah. When your clock is gonna be ticking, or when you get a family or a man, or blah blah. I'm like, look, I don't want kids. I always felt I never did, and now I get to the point where I've had, you know, posts about this before, where I get mad when people start telling me about it, and not just because like anybody just, oh, you know, you should have kids, but it's like, you know, if I've already like let you know and you keep taunting me with it, now I feel like you're disrespectful.
And I think that that's a fair reaction, but especially I think it's so wrong for, if you're young, especially when you're young, it should be acceptable for you to say, I don't want kids.
And people don't like that.
Yeah, and this is 2021, and you should, like, we should be encouraging, like, if somebody young decides they don't want kids, you don't say, no, you might change your mind. It's just like, oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, you might change your mind. Like, of course you might change your mind, but how do you develop the confidence to say what you want when somebody's constantly telling you that you should be different, that you should, telling you otherwise?
And, you know, and I feel like a lot of people feel comfortable to say that to me because I'm a woman, and as women, we're expected to do certain things, and like, you know, get married, have kids and all that stuff. And it's like, you know, I feel like a lot of that is for some people. I'm not downing it on anybody, but I've taken accountability to be like, you know what, this is the type of person I am, and these are the things I like and I don't like. And right now, this isn't for me. You know, that's why it took me so long to really get into a relationship. Like, I had like a lot of situations or whatever, but to really want to, entanglements and shit. But like, I never really wanted a relationship with nobody because I felt like I was gonna be tied down. I didn't know if I was ready to really share with somebody those parts of me. I loved being single because I like to be able to do what the fuck I want, when I want, with who I want, like. And it was okay for me, and people used to make me feel like something was wrong with me because I liked that lifestyle. And you know, I love Sammy and I love what I have now, but like at that time I was actually genuinely happy with it. And I used to hate that people would make me feel like, oh no, you're just lonely. I'm like, nah, nigga, like I like being by myself and not having to answer the nigga, and you know what I'm saying, when I want to have somebody come over, I can have somebody come over if I want them to fucking kick it with me this week, then yeah, but if not, I can be by myself and tell myself what to do. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want that?
You would think people would be acceptable of it, but you know, like a lot of people will talk shit about it, and it's usually like older crowds, and it's usually people who already are settled. I feel like they want you to be settled with them,
or they just don't have any other idea about like what life could be like if they weren't a wife, if they weren't a husband, if they didn't have kids. Like, they don't understand anything different than what they're fed. And
see, I can't understand how at that time, especially like how somebody would want to be like that, because I was still getting to know myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I'm 33 now, and I feel like I've spent this time really getting to know me. And I know people, find themselves with relationships. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I think I needed to be single to get to know what kind of person I am and what I'm acceptable of. And, what I'm saying? I love the fact that I've gotten to know so many people, and I've been places and done things and got drunk and talked shit and started shit, whatever it is. Like,
and I think
I've learned.
that makes for like a better relationship now, because you gave yourself time to learn about you before you jumped into learning about somebody else. And so, I mean, I feel like that's the phase that I'm in now. Is like I just got out of a 7-year marriage, and I need to just learn about me so I can just present better for my partner in the future, and not have like those, the cliche, sow my wild oats, but those wild oats to sow.
You should be able to say that. Men get to say that shit all the time. See, no, fix that. You have to be able to say that. Get to sow my oats. Sorry. Mm-hmm. I got to do that, and that's why what I'm saying? I say that you should be able to do it because I feel like I got to do it and I was comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And I hated people that acted like it was a bad thing. Like, don't be afraid to say, like, this is what I want, because women, we are capable of being just like men. You know what I'm saying? Have those moments of wanting to work on ourselves and do us and make money or whatever it is. And then, you know what I'm saying, every so often have that little company or that little, just a date or whatever. Like, we have that capability. We're not whores just because we don't want what everybody else wants for us.
And that ties into like the thing about how society just doesn't accept that women don't want kids. It ties in like having sex just for pleasure, right? Yeah. So they see like, oh, you're not having sex to procreate. You're not having sex to have babies. You must be having sex to have pleasure. And in a patriarchal society, they don't feel like letting women enjoy themselves.
No, and then also it makes us feel like we have to do something and we have to be in check in something, and that's probably a really big part of why I go against the grain, I guess you could say, is because I've always been the type of person that I don't like to listen, and everybody knows that about me. You know what I'm saying? I like to do things my own motherfucking way, and I don't feel like anyone should tell me like, okay, so you have to do all these things and then let a man control you from here on out, like, and then have these kids and then that's all your life. Like, are you serious? Like, I still want to live. I'm glad that I'm 33 and I got to live out some stuff, and I feel like I'm still learning and doing, and I've never told nobody that I'm perfect or I'm right where I need to be. I'm not at no success right now. Like, I'm still growing and doing, but I'm doing that at my own pace. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay with that. I appreciate the people around me who are further and do great, and they're my inspiration.
I don't think there's anything like such thing as further either. It's
I think everybody just they all have their own passion. Like, I learn from other people. I have a friend of mine who's younger than me, and his name is Adam, and Adam knows this. Like, I admire everything he does. He's very young and he's accomplished just a whole lot, and so I always tell him all the time, like, big dog, like, when I grow up I want to be like you. Like, and I've always told him that, and he knows that, but he's younger than me, and I always throw it at him because a lot of men don't get that recognition, so I throw it out there.
Right.
But back to like, I just what we were saying earlier, just having more self awareness and stuff, and I think that's great that you're at that point too.
Yeah. But I think it's great that you can assert, like, I don't want to have kids. And just being able to do that in our society is super, super brave. Because, again, you're going to get it all the time. When are you going to have kids? Why don't you want to have kids? Like, and then in some ways I feel like that when you ask somebody those questions, it makes them feel like less of a woman. Like, maybe as a woman, your whole job is supposed to have kids. So why is everybody asking this? Does this define me as a woman?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about earlier, about being in like a place in your life. Like, it always makes me feel like that. Like, it's okay, so I'm not doing something right now. I'm 33 with no kids. Like, I'm like, it's different. Like, you think it's a bad thing. I'm over here like, good job, Molly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so excited for you, bitch. Right. Yes. And it's not to knock anyone that's already a mother. Let people get that straight. Right. This was my personal goal. This is something I wanted for myself.
Right.
If you have children now, I love to praise mothers, because here's another thing. You guys are doing something I don't want to do. I'm afraid to do. I don't, the whole thing you said about you had a natural birth, like, oh my God, bitch. My whole coochie just went, I'm so scared, bitch. I am scared to let something about that motherfucker there.
And you know what? Like, I feel like if I didn't have Murdoch we were married already, and then but he was still a surprise. We weren't planning to have him, so I feel like if I didn't have Murdoch, I would be at this time in my life asserting that too. Like just knowing what I know about the world and the way it is now, like you were saying earlier, and knowing the feelings that I have now that I have a kid, just the fear that comes with like every single day, just like, is he gonna be okay? He's not with me right now. Is he okay? Like, what if we get in a car accident? You know, what if somebody bullies him at school? Like all of these fears that come along with it, like, and I feel like you had a different perspective growing up because you cared for some of your siblings, right? So
you know what, for me, I guess you could say a really big part of why I don't want kids is at a young age, I don't want to use the word forced, but it was just something that happened where I was in charge of growing up a little bit too fast. And I was, you know what I'm saying, in a position where I was in charge of some kids and I was still a kid, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was learning how to cook and clean and do all these things. It wasn't really being too taught like to do it. I just had to pick it up and go. So there's a lot of stuff that I grew up knowing and just common sense in doing. And there's something I just had to learn a couple times to do it, you know what I mean? And within that with kids, it's like I had to learn a lot of patience with the kids I was taking care of, and I learned so much about them, and like over the years I've watched them grow and become their own people. And it's, you know, sometimes I always feel like responsible if they get hurt or something goes wrong with them.
That worry.
And it's like a mother, and I was saying that earlier, like with all the stuff that's been going on lately, I really don't want no kids because everything between the coronavirus and all the different riots and all the stuff that's been going on, I've been so scared for my babies, you know what I'm saying, and other people's babies that I know, and I couldn't imagine being a mom and having to deal with those emotions, and it really be something up out of me, because then, you know, my everything, like I'm already crazy as it is, like I was already warning my babies all the time about certain things, so it's like, for them to actually be mine, it's like I probably will kill somebody, you know what I'm saying, like I don't want to have to deal with that, and I don't want to have to deal with the pain of them having to deal with what I've had to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all cycles that, you know, in this world, all the circumstances or the worldly things that we all go through, that we learn a lot about ourselves, but we still wouldn't wish that upon the next generation. And I say that with so much different types of pains that I put up with, but that have made me a strong person in my perspective, and why I'm so comfortable with who I am and where I am right now, because I learned so many different lessons and dealt with so many different people that it made me realize that God is there, because he just kind of showed me through all that and made me feel like, okay, I could be content with saying how I feel and what I want now, because God put me through this to feel this way.
Right.
So yeah.
And you're not here where you're at in your life for no reason. So, yeah, I think that's interesting, because you got a taste of motherhood before you had to make the choice to be a mother, and I think a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So then once they become a parent, once they become a mother, then the worry switches on, and all of the things that, you know, putting all of your stuff on hold switches on. And so maybe the fact that you had a taste of that just swayed, you know, your decision.
Did. Another big thing was a friend of mine, I don't know if I should say her name, I wouldn't do that. Well, I'm not sure, but either way, a friend of mine, she had a baby when we were like, I think about 15 or 16. And her mother made sure that we were there for as much of the experience as we could be there of her having that baby. And let me tell you something that scared the fuck up out of a nigga like me. I'm telling you right now, that's why I said, nope, ain't nothing, nope. And then the look in that bitch eyes too, where she was, I was getting on her nerves too. She kicked me about the room.
Oh, that scarred you.
It scarred the fuck out of me. And just different stories, different things I've seen. there's so much just bodily, and I respect y'all for going through that and being, you know, having to do it and experiencing it and loving it. I'm scared of it, you know what I'm saying? I'm frightened.
And
but,
I was scared too. I had a really bad experience. Like, I went to my first like OB appointment, and there was a nurse practitioner, and she like made me get a pap smear, and later I found out like, you don't have to get a pap smear if you don't want a pap smear. She was really rough with me, and she said, you know what, you're 4'8", and you're on the smaller side. I'm small. You're not going to be able to give birth naturally. You're going to have a C-section. And just like putting that fear into me. And I was afraid. And the best thing that I could do is embrace the situation that I was in. And I said, okay, look, I'm pregnant, whether, whether I like it or not, I want to have a baby, whether I like it or not, I'm going to have to give birth. So the best thing that I can do is arm myself with knowledge. Like, learn all I can learn about the stages of birth and what happens with my body. And in trying to like educate myself about birth, I wasn't afraid anymore. And then I realized like I can do this, and I can do this naturally, and I can do this in whatever way that I want to do it. So I think there's a lot of power in like arming yourself with knowledge and learning about it. If you do find yourself in a situation where you're pregnant and you want to have your baby, I think that's super important.
I do see a lot of women who've changed when they do have babies, and a lot of my friends who were like me and said they didn't want kids, now they're mothers. I see for a lot of them how they've changed for the good. Their babies are something that brings them pride and joy. Absolutely. I can see that, you know what I'm saying, like for them, and I'm happy for other people for that. And I'm sure that is a big part of being a parent. There's more good than bad.
Oh, yeah.
See, I thought I said it right the first time.
More good than bad, and I agree. I don't know what I would be doing right now if I didn't have my child. It sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Like, if I didn't look at my child every day in his eyes and know that I have to do the best that I can do today for this little human that I brought into the world, I would be partying every single day. I wouldn't be in school. I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing. So, I mean, I owe a lot of that to him.
See, and I can see that. And how you love that, I love my freedom.
Yes.
I love my freedom. Like, I love being able to, like, sleep when I feel like it. You know what I'm saying? Let's have shit to do, but, like, not because I have to get up because I'm hearing some shit. I have been in that situation when I'm trying to sleep and have 3 kids across me, like, oh, my God, I got shit to do in the morning. Why are y'all all in my bed like this? Like, I know, and everything I speak upon, it's not like I don't have the experience, you know what I'm saying? I speak off of, like, I already went through this shit, but, you know what I'm saying? I know that, like I said earlier, if it fucking happens and I end up having a fucking kid, then...
you'll embrace it. You'll be fine.
But just so y'all know, you're not getting no cutesy fucking post out of me like, guess what, guys? I'm gonna be like, fuck. That's how you gonna know. Exactly.
We can always count on you to be real.
That's how you're gonna know the post is just gonna say fuck, and that's when you guys can start your bullshit.
So funny.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
I mean, I hate saying it because I don't want you to feel like I would ever put pressure on you to have kids, but I feel like if you ever made the choice to have kids, just seeing your perspective, because you are so real, and that's what our community,
that's a whole other episode lacking. Because I be saying some shit. There's a lot of shit that I be thinking about people with their kids, and I also used to be a nanny, and a lot of people know that because I've watched your kids and stuff like that. Like, I try to give people advice sometimes, and they're like, oh, you don't have kids, and you don't know, like, okay, but everything I be speaking up on people's kids, it be on some true shit, and then, like, when the situation expands and goes to what I was saying, it's like, I hate to be the nigga to say, I told you so, but I told you so.
You know what, though, from, like, and you're probably right, but from the perspective of a mother, I would never, ever take advice. I don't care if you have a doctorate degree in child development. Like, if you don't have kids, I would never ever take your advice. And I hate saying that because it just sounds it doesn't sound right? Mm-hmm. But first of all, you just get really defensive. Especially if you're trying your hardest and someone comes at you like, look, you're doing this XYZ wrong, or like, you could do better doing this. It's like the last thing you want to hear. So
I can see that for situations, especially when you're a new mother, and sometimes you get really defensive with it. I've been in situations with people where it'll be like, they'll tell you like what's going on with their kids, and and where they're fucking up at, and they don't understand that. So I'll be the one to be like, well, you know what? You're trying to be their friend. Stop trying to be their friend. And instead of being like, you know, you're like, you don't have to keep doing shit. I'm like, no, I do understand that you feel like you gotta please this little motherfucker, and they're gonna be mad at you, and so written all over your face. That's when I say, like, parents, stop trying to be your kids' friend, because look at the situation, look at the fucking kids we deal with right now. The teenagers right now, like,
I have faith in the teenagers that we have right now. I do. I do. I know their culture is like different and weird.
Listen. There's like not just the different. They're some of them are really slow. Like I don't know how to. I don't mean to say it in a bad way. Like, and I'm trying to watch how I say it. But like a lot of them, like they don't have good perspectives or anything. Like they really feel like this Instagram and Facebook and all this shit is really life, and like yeah, well, I'm toying with it and stuff. But I know that this isn't my everyday, and I'm not gonna be no boss ass off of this.
Right.
This is something for me to express myself because a bitch is crazy.
Right.
There you go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but all in all, like, I understand, like, I gotta pay bills, I gotta get this done and that done. It's like, these kids, they think, like, no, like, mom and daddy's gonna do it, or it's gonna magically happen. It's like, you know how many guys, little boys think it's okay to live off of women, like, and they're, like, okay with it? Like, it's like so many different types of thoughts that go in my head of how are these motherfuckers gonna survive.
Well, yeah, because they live in a virtual world, right? So we grew up with when computers were just starting to like come out, and then cell phones. I didn't have a cell phone until I was 13. So we got to see like half and half, right? The real world and then the simulated world.
Fucking allergy, sorry.
No, that's okay. Corona?
Oh my gosh, no, fucking springtime, fucking, oh my god, my allergies have been fucking me up lately. I've been wanting to cry.
Mine too. Murdoch was literally crying today because of his allergies. But yeah, so we got to see both of it, whereas like the newer generation grew up and from birth, that's what was put in front of them, the screen. You know, learn how to use this computer, like the virtual world. It's just super normal for them.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are positives that can come from that. Like just like how we can encourage each other from far away, right?
Yeah.
I mean, shit gets lonely. And if you can open your phone and you know, see somebody say something that you needed to hear. Idea sharing. Like,
I do that a lot.
There.
I actually been doing this thing where I've been starting to reach out to different people and just tell them like what I appreciate about them, or if I see like something that they've accomplished, like, oh, you know what, cool, and anyone, or I'll even like, you know, if I see like someone's going through something, like I'll say like, hey, I don't know what you're going through, but you know, I'll send positive vibes your way or something, because you're right, like people go through shit and we don't ever really know.
Right.
Well, I'm having a great conversation, but I have some really loud ass fuckers in the background that don't listen. Really? I think they just want to be heard. Fofty act like he don't want to be on camera, but he wants to be a star. We bring him on.
Shut up in my own house.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Bitch.
See? I didn't even say fuck. I said fudge. Now shut the fuck up.
Alright, there's a room upstairs.
You want to do what?
No.
Sammy gonna kill you.
I sent you a fucking, what's it called, I sent you a message. You want something to eat or not?
I'm using my phone. You see how he talks to me? Yes, we talked about this on Sushi.
Okay,
See what I'm going through? All right, I gotta go, you guys, because Bane's tripping.
To be continued.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you, Marley.
You're welcome,
we're gonna do this again. Definitely gonna do this again.
We should go live next and like take just questions.
Oh, yes.
Next time.
Awesome.
I think that would be cool. Have some interaction.
I think that would be too.
Embrace social media.
Fofty, are you gonna go live with us and ask some questions?
No.
And that way we could. We don't even have to. I mean,
can't
shit.
do that.
I'm talking about the social media. But if we're far away, we can go live together, right?
Oh yes.
Embrace the.
All right, thank you
platform.
guys. See you.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Of course.